we go then. Baku Season 4 Tier 1 SLR is go! And a pretty good start by the looks of it from Copy. Did he get the jump on Pretorius? No, he didn't. Pretorius into... Oh no, right at the back. And we didn't see... Julian looks like he's lost a little bit of front wing. I didn't see whether Wow has, but Julian sending one up the inside. Oh, it was Wow sending one up the inside and almost stopped into turn 2. And all sorts of incidents towards the back, but everyone at the front looks like they got away. Tipsy and Bascodinho battling, and Bascodinho under threat from Toto, two Dutch drivers side by side into turn 2. Good racing room given by both of them. Toto looks like he might just have the better of that one as they head down towards turn 3. Bascodinho having to yield. Floats up there, but does make the corner.
That is very unfortunate, as Bascodinho has probably crashed. I'm riding on board with Val to find out.
Yep, safety car is out. Safety car is out.
Penalty for Luigi, so Ocean Chief is unharmed as the safety car goes away and
Oh, Light Cruiser on Tipsy immediately. Trying to go around the outside into turn 1. Copy has a little bit of a look at Pretorius, but nothing doing there. Tipsy on the old tyres, of course, is going to be undercut here by the looks of it by Light Cruiser into turn 2 as he squeezes the McLaren up the inside.
That was right on the edge of being unfair as the lack of traction sends Tipsy into Icewind. Icewind got a big hefty punt there as he tries to go ahead of Tipsy. Now we'll try to outbrake him. Toto slipped through. He's the last one to break, but he broke too late. And I think he just tapped the wall there. Maybe some damage. Icewind on Toto for P5. And Toto keeps it ahead just about. Did what he needed to do on softs.
And Pretorius for the lead. Pretorius has passed Popo for the lead on the fresh soft tyres. So Popo with those mediums really struggling with them. And Pretorius takes advantage, and he now is in the net lead of this race with that safety car. It definitely helped him out, and the softs have paid dividends for him.
Press is enabled, and he's still trying to go to the inside now. The overspeed kicks in, he leaves him no room on the outside, or at least not more than he needs to give. Has the inside for the corner, but a little slip on track.
Here goes Copy.
Anyways, here we go. It is the long straight, and Copy's first attack will prove to be a good one. He's on the outside, he's already well ahead. And he also sets the fast overtake mode. Copy isn't for the moment. And will he go to the inside? Copy chooses the outside, which is an interesting choice. Yeah, Pretorius is well ahead, and he's got it back. Not much of a resistance, but it is possible that they didn't get a single one. And now Pretorius, once again, on the charge as Copy is completely Dallas zero. Pretorius getting much of a back up Pretorius. I think you know what's going to happen here. We're going to have to be a fortune teller as Copy is ahead once again. And I mean, if they're... Oh, he gets very wiggly on the exit and they make contact. Luckily, this game's damage situation is absolute trash, because otherwise there would have been a puncture for a pop for sure.
Yeah, that was not down at all. Keep an eye on the lap time. 42.4, I think, was his fastest lap before Icewind broke it. And he is slower than that.
There is 2 laps to go. Oh, they are running side by side. He didn't make the tire move stick. And now they're kind of in a weird situation. A half side by side. Can Pretorius outbreak him? Yes, he can. He's ahead, and yeah, I think that's improved.
On the last lap, and yeah, Pretorius is not going to have any defense here at all.
No funny Terra Incognita Garage strategy games here, as Copy takes the lead once again for the final time through turn 1.
Now, I imagine this one is going to be contested. Into turn 3, it's going to be heavily contested. Pretorius is really going to want to be close enough, and he's really going to want to overtake as they head up towards turn number 3. Doesn't look like he's close enough, though.
Maybe staying behind is the good thing. He sucks himself closer to Copy, but not enough. Jones will certainly get his first podium of the season, but none of them have won a race in season 4 yet. And Pretorius gets a poor run through the brake check corner, so Copy might as well. He might have just given himself enough room. It looks like there's a big gap. I think Pretorius is in trouble here.
I don't think he's close enough. I think Copy's going to get this one, even with the DRS on the last straight. I don't think this is going to be close enough. They both have full batteries.
Good run here, though, and I think Pretorius might just run out He's coming closer and closer and closer. DRS is open, but the line is going to come too soon, I imagine. Pretorius gets closer. Where's the line for Copy? There is the line. It's 0.17 seconds that separate them in the end. Copy takes victory here in Azerbaijan ahead of Pretorius.
To be continued right now, in fact, because we are back with SLR tier numero uno here in Barcelona. I was going to say sunny Barcelona, but it's not particularly sunny on track at the moment. It is overcast, but we do have a dry qualifying and a dry race with a bunch of people who've gone out on hard tyres already. I'm Terra, bringing you this one as per usual on a Saturday afternoon, and alongside me as per usual on a Saturday afternoon is Mr. Thimo Brown. How's it going, Thimo?
Oh, it's going great, especially because of the background noises I just had to make because I didn't drop any of my food. Anyways, so this is Barcelona. It is in real life, like for racing, one of the meh tracks, to be honest. The last section, the last 4 corners, the chicanes kind of take the flow out of the circuit and make it very hard to overtake on the final straight. But in the game, Dirty isn't such a thing, so you can follow closer through there. So I think in the game, the DRS straight is actually very effective. It's very hard to defend there, unlike real life. So in the game, I think it's a great track for racing. We've seen some crazy stuff going on this track in the past. Maybe it's getting crazier today. In case you saw Tier 2, we had 4 safety cars here because Codemasters has put out patch, I believe, 1.20, and it includes a fix to the safety cars. That means when we're getting more safety cars, they also said in the patch notes, I don't know how believable that is, that they try to have a system in place that tries to accurately send out safety cars, so if someone's completely off the circuit, according to them, it shouldn't be that likely that it will give a safety car then a pile up, or like was someone crashing right on the track. I don't know. It's hard to tell, but one certainty is that there's going to be more safety cars, and more safety cars means a strategy is going to be quite all over the place. It makes it very hard to foresee what happens, and that is a sort of a little bit of a spicy element to this, which I'm looking forward to a lot. As a commentator, as a driver, not quite so much.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun, this one, I think. We've got a bunch of people, of course, going out on hard tyres. The preferred strategy for Spain is, in fact, medium to hard, just as it was in Baku. So a bunch of people doing a bunch of laps that don't really matter at the moment on the hard tyres before they go out for their one qualifying effort a little bit later on mediums. Someone who's already on mediums is Mr. Toto in the Haas. So we're going to see whether he can put a good lap in. Yeah, it is. I don't know. I mean, it is. I mean, there are a couple of strategies that are possible, but I think clearly the fastest is medium to hard. I think soft to hard is very difficult. Two-stopping is also very difficult. And relatively slow. So I think medium to hard is what nearly all of the grid is going to do. We're going to see if anyone can, decides to mix it up. But I think the vast majority of the grid will be looking to set a lap on mediums.
Yeah. Time-wise, wait. Julian's lap is on hards. Yeah.
Julian's lap is on
hards. I saw from someone practice. So basically the time I saw from Jensen, which is the quickest I saw in practice, I didn't practice a lot with other people, it was a 17.7 by Jensen. And
that's on mediums?
On mediums, yes. It was 1.1 seconds of what we're having, what Jensen has set now. So imagine the times will come in, and we'll see a close shootout. Jensen's very competitive on this track. And Copy very close behind them in the pre-shootout, as well as WoW and Pretorius. Basically, I was gonna include anyone that is like within a 10 or 2, but I have to go quite a while down the order to find gap. And,
Yeah, it's pretty competitive at the moment. We got Toto, who's gone out on the mediums. He's done a lap that has matched Julian's hard time, 1 minute 18.7. We got Gary now, who is, I believe, a reserve. I believe he's making the step up from Tier 2 for this race. He's going to cross the line without any assists, of course, and he does a very similar lap as well, 1 minute 18.8. So he goes third. But yeah, I mean, as you mentioned, I think the pole time here on the mediums, assuming nobody goes for the softs among the fast boys, pole is probably going to be a high 17, maybe even a mid 17, depending on whether some of the very fast people, I'm really looking at Julian, can hook a lap up.
Maybe there's gonna be a surprise as well, because maybe someone from down the order thinks, this is going to be carnage and I'm going to go on softs, and if there's a safety car, I'm going to use it to pit. Like, I'm looking at people like Ocean Chief.
Well, I was going to say, it's funny you should mention that. Not that Ocean Chief is always down the order, of course. He's had a couple of good results recently, but sometimes he's down the order, and he is on the softs at the moment. He's coming through to finish his lap as well.
Yeah, he's the one who inspired me to that thing. I was watching him.
So here he goes. He's going to cross the line, and I wonder if this is going to be the fastest time that we've seen so far. It's not quite. In fact, it's a couple of tenths off. It's a 19.0 from Ocean. That puts him 7th. So, I mean, I don't think that time, honestly, is going to be... that's not going to be a top 10 lap time anyway. So he's going to be going out again to see if he can improve on that. But, yeah, something like that could happen if somebody decides to go on softs.
Especially with the new changes, you can almost... I mean... There's a very low amount of races where actually everyone finishes. In league racing, there's always going to be retirements, more so than in real life, because, well, in real life there's still data collection and stuff, and here I mean, a lot of people don't continue after they had a crash, even though the crash doesn't put them out of the race. So you get more retirements, even though you shouldn't call out safety cars when retiring, and there's a penalty for that. There's still going to be more retirements, and that means there's going to be probably at least a safety car in this race.
Yeah.
So the question is just going to be, well, is there actually going to be one? And will it come at a point where someone can exploit it strategically? Because if you look at Tier 2, we had 4 safety cars. And it's almost at a rate, to be fair, Tier 2 was quite the carnage, but it's almost a rate where you could start really actively considering it as a strategic... like as a proper strategic element. Normally you always just go for your strategy and then just don't care about safety cars, but I think at the rate they are now, you probably have to calculate them in and maybe lay your strategy down in a way that you can build around a potential safety car.
Yeah, I think that might well happen. I mean, we got Wow as well, who's about to finish a lap here as well. He's on the soft tyres, and he doesn't complete his lap, so he's not going to try and put that lap in. He was just doing a little bit of a sighter lap and decides to abandon that after all, and he's going to go on the mediums. But yeah, I mean, it does make the softs a lot better in qualifying if you have an increased probability of a safety car. You know, it's much better to be at the front of the grid, because in that situation, like the strategy's not quite out the window, but certainly severely compromised by adding a safety car in there. You can do all sorts of weird things and still be fast. Pretorius goes fastest on a 1 minute 18.6. That's on the mediums.
Yep. And Popo puts it ahead of him immediately.
Yep, nice lap from Popo.
Another thing though is maybe on, and this is probably like overthinking it a little, but also on tracks where it's not clear between mediums and softs, mediums could be more viable, because you can run, like, you can stretch them, and maybe if a possibility for a safety car opens up, you can get the free start. That's probably overthinking it, but I think at tracks where safety cars are likely to happen, you could take that into consideration, making mediums better. I don't know.
Yep, for sure. And it, of course, remains to be seen. We don't know exactly to what extent they've tweaked the algorithm for safety cars and to what extent they are more likely, but certainly if the Tier 2 race is anything to go by, they are considerably more likely, given that there are almost certain to be at least some retirements in this race. Julian on a fast one on the mediums, and this is really the lap that we will want to see. Julian has, I think, pretty consistently in the first 4 races or thereabouts been if not always the single fastest, then certainly among the very fastest in SLR Tier 1 so far. We can see him go through the middle sector now. This is turn 9. He's going to run nice and wide on the exit. And if I had to put any money down on somebody to post a fastest time in this session, I think there would be money going down on this lap right here from Julian, because he's already done 18.7 on the hards. And he's going to see if he can improve on that, and presumably he will improve on that on the mediums. So through the final chicane he goes, out of the final corner. Jensen puts in a very fast lap of 1 minute 17.9. Julian, though, I think is going to beat that. He does. And it's a 17.6. And that is going to be difficult for anyone to beat, whatever tyre they're on.
As said, Jensen's quickest time when I was around was a 17.7, and he told me he was very pleased, so he's got quite the work, like quite the task at hand if he wants to qualify and pole on this track. To be fair there, though, of course, quali pace isn't everything, and I think Jensen tends to be better in races than in qualifying. But that doesn't mean that Julian's got a weakness there, and Icewind puts it in second. He's very quick.
Icewind with a 17 on the mediums. That is a great lap.
Yeah. Didn't we talk about, like, earlier in voice, we were talking about the times from Tour Sorel last time this season, where Tara won a race, and Icewind wasn't that quick, and he was the closest contestant. Like, how
he was on softs in that session as well. He did an 18.2 on softs. I was on pole with an 18.1 on softs. So this is a considerable improvement from that. He's gone 0.3 quicker than he was then, and he's on a harder compound of tyre as well. Wow, by the looks of it, has invalidated his lap. So he is going to be trying again. Tipsy has put a good lap in on the mediums as well. He's 7th at the moment on a 1 minute 18.7. So good stuff from him. Who else haven't we talked about? Copy has done an 18.1. So he's in P4, yeah. Pretorius in P5, and that 18.4 from Popo at the moment, good enough for P6.
And Jensen is up by around a 10th after the first split. He's on his flyer now. He's running quite low in ERS. Unprofessional question. Does the track map, is it like the full track map for you? Because for me it's not. Maybe I have to go
so there's two settings. Yeah, you just need to cycle through. So there's a mini map and then there's a full track map. So yeah.
Great. I thought it maybe took it from my hard settings.
No. I wondered that.
Oh, Jensen's invalidated.
Yep, he certainly has. So Jensen is going to have to either abandon his efforts to go fastest, and that looks like what he's going to do. He's taking the MotoGP layout there on the outside of turn 10. Who else have we got? Pretorius is coming in. Copy is on an in lap by the looks of things. Is Julian on another fast one? No, he's not. So I don't know exactly who is going to be able to improve. We've got 30 seconds of the session left.
I think Copy is probably on a cooldown lap between two quick laps on mediums.
Yep, it looks like it. He's put his...
Yeah, he stays out. He's going to try and be the last one, and wow.
Oh wow, was on a fast one. It was lying to me. He was actually in high ERS, I'm guessing, and he puts it P2 on a 1 minute 17.8. So good stuff from Wow.
Yeah, very good stuff. But it looks like it's the shootout about who is going to be second to Julian. I think he's going to be very hard to beat. Let's see Copy's first split. It is barely up 15 thousandths of a second. So yeah, Copy will probably struggle to get into the 17s unless he's made maybe a major mistake he can sort out on this lap.
Ocean Chief goes P8 on the soft, so an 18.4 from Ocean. Good stuff from him.
Maybe Astro and 20 are going to knock him out of the top 10, putting him into maybe P11. That would...
Copy invalidated in the left-hander. I saw him cut the left-hander, and I wondered if that will have invalidated for him, and it certainly did. Astro Boys goes across the line, and we haven't talked about Astro Boys very much in this broadcast so far, but he has put it just barely in the top 10. A 1 minute 18.4 from Astro Boys on the mediums. When he crosses the line, does a 1 minute 18.6, and I think that's probably going to do it for this qualifying session. Wow is on an in-lap. So that is your grid, and Julian on pole by a good couple of tenths with that extremely fast 1 minute 17.6.
one thing, maybe that's just me, but I have a feeling for some reason this season the tire strategies have been much less varied. I think it's at every track you have like a clear strategy that everyone is doing. Normally, you always had like just the very quick boys trying to qualify mediums or something, but here the entire grid is on mediums, bar Ocean Chief. So yeah, I think that just speaks to people getting more coordinated, also having, of course, the experience of last season to look back to.
I think that's
But
absolutely
it
right.
also, yeah, I think it's also maybe a factor that they are just getting more and more experienced and therefore know what the objectively best strategy is.
Yeah, I think certainly here, I mean, medium hard is certainly the way to go, and to some extent it depends on what other people are doing, because if you've got several people doing the softs, and they're going to be at the front of the grid, then there is a real trade-off. But if everyone decides to do the medium hard, then there isn't really any sort of a trade-off at all, and you're just better off doing that.
Exactly. Also, like in the thing that made me come to that thought is, like when I was driving in to Sorel last season, I was thought to myself about if I went P11, that would be great because then I could go onto another strategy that's probably superior. But now that doesn't work anymore because everyone is going to take that strategy if it is superior. So aiming for P11 is completely useless now. So you just try to qualify as high as possible, and it's basically the same in SLR.
Yep.
P11 doesn't give you much because the one strategy you could pick with that is the one everyone's running. The only advantage you have is like 5% less on your tires.
Yep.
Which is
absolutely right. Yeah, it's not much of an advantage. It's
exactly.
it's a tenth or so a lap for the first stint, but that's not a huge advantage because yeah, everyone is doing the same thing as we get going here on the formation lap, and we can see everyone on the grid on mediums except for Ocean Chief, of course, who did a pretty good lap to put his Alfa Romeo in the top 10. He is qualified 8th. But he will start on the soft tyre, so it remains to be seen whether he will try and stretch the softs and then the hards to go on a one-stop, or whether he's going to be content to pit twice instead, or whether that's going to be thrown out of the window altogether when we get one or maybe more safety cars in this race.
I don't want to throw my my boy Ocean Chief under the bus, of course, but I think what he's doing is probably the right call. He is, I mean, SLR is just so quick right now, and Ocean Chief tends to be to the back pace-wise, and I assume that's why he goes for these wildcard strategies that probably won't pay off. But if they do, then they are going to give him some points, which otherwise, like if he drives normal races, he's going to finish like 13th, 14th, never giving points. But if he drives the crazy strategies, maybe there's that one off race where he can get points. And I think that's a good way to go about things, which is probably why you see Ocean Chief as the driver who goes on these off strategies the most out of the SLR roster, because he sees his niche in that. And maybe it will pay off, we'll see. It's exciting him in P8.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, we'll see whether he's able to hold his own on those soft tyres in the first stint. They do fall off very quickly indeed. They last, if you are kind to them, they last somewhere around 7 or 8 laps. But no more than that. And towards the end of that time, they tend to be a little bit difficult to handle. So hopefully everything is okay for Ocean. He might even be a little bit quicker in the first couple of laps or thereabouts. So we see the rest of the grid forming up behind all the way to the two McLarens, Vascodino and Light Cruiser, the orange Dutch Army at the back of the grid. Here we go then, 33 laps at Barcelona. We have 5 lights, so we will do very shortly, and we are go in Barcelona. Pretty good start from Wow. It looked like he got the jump on Julian, and yes, indeed he did. And they're going to be side by side as they head down, and squeezed onto the grass towards the back there is Quenny, but everyone making it through, at least so far, as we can see at the moment. Around the outside goes, looks like Astro Boys there, into turn 1, but everyone through cleanly at the moment. It's certainly nothing like the Tier 2 race, as running wide is Danny. And Toto runs wide as well, but everyone at the moment making it through. Danny and Astro Boys side by side as they head into turn number 4. And almost 3 wide at the back there. We can see...
Tipsy got got squeezed a lot. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think that was a very respectful start. I was looking at the back of the field as I usually do, tipsy on the inside now. That was what I was thinking after tier 1, because people have been complaining about the amount of safety cars, and my thought is just, well, we need to try and step up our games as drivers and try not to crash as much, and tier 1 is giving us a display of how it's supposed to work, even though we are 3 wide into the chicane there, I think, with Toto tipsy. Quite the fighting going on in this lap, but no crash so far. I don't want to
and
jinx
Astro Boy is
it.
running very wide in the long right-hander. When he getting alongside momentarily, but not able to capitalize on that, and he's under pressure from Popo now. Side by side into the chicane they go, still side by side through the chicane. When he cuts the corner, and Popo gets hung out to dry just a little bit. And Toto is going to be looking there as well as they head down the main straight up front. It's pretty much as you were. Julian from WoW, from Icewind, from Jensen. That was how they qualified, and that was how they are running at the moment. Popo again has another look at the inside of Wenny, but nothing doing there. And a remarkably clean start, I have to say, in this Spanish Grand Prix. We've got 19 cars, and none of them have had any extended excursions off the racetrack so far.
Yeah, it's been a very respectful start at the front. We have everyone lined up, and I feel like this is also a development I've noticed. Now we get a lot more races where it's just everyone lined up and not much moving there, because if you destroy your tires, if you fight on early and they just try and wait for the later stages of the race when everything is...
Oh, and up the inside goes Luigi, having a good look at Tipsy Bob there in the left-hander. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right, and also just the fact that driving standards have gone up quite considerably, and people just aren't making the mistakes that we used to see people make in these races. So I think just that has meant that there is an awful lot more of this just sort of running in formation, at least for the opening few laps.
Yeah, prime example is China. And also I think in Australia we had an amazing train, but they were actually fighting, I think. But in China it was like a settled train. And maybe we're set for something like that here, but Icewind has already dropped. Yeah, he's lost the connection to WoW already. It's more than a second.
Yep.
So the chain is ripped on this part, and Jensen will look at that anxiously.
Pretorius in the background. My goodness, he had a moment there out of turn 4.
Yeah, Jensen will try and get past Icewind as quick as possible, because he thinks he can fight at the front. He probably can, and but the problem is he needs to be he needs to have clear air to be hunting for these boys. Otherwise, he is reliant on the pace of Icewind. And WoW looks like he is pushing Julian quite a bit.
And Danny up the inside of Ocean Chief side by side into the long right-hander. Danny did get that move done. Ocean outbraked himself very slightly into turn 10. Danny needing no second invitation. But the problem for Danny is that he's been cooped up behind Ocean Chief for a couple of laps, and he's lost a little bit of ground there with that situation, and he's got a 2-second gap to copy ahead of him. Astro Boy's now also lining up Ocean Chief as they come across the line to start lap 4. And he does get that move done around the outside. Nice move from Astro Boys. And Ocean really is going to start to struggle with those tyres now.
Wait, WoW and Julian have swapped positions.
Oh, they have. That was that must have been a mistake then from Julian somewhere.
That came out of
and
nowhere.
Jensen and Icewind as well. So Jensen has DRS'd
Yeah.
Icewind down the main straight too. Apologies for missing those. I didn't think they were close enough to be making a move, but yeah, certainly. So WoW has taken the lead. Julian down to P2. Jensen now third, and he does now have DRS on the 2 cars ahead of him. So this is now back to being a 5 or maybe even a 6-car train, with Copy and the Williams just trying to hang on to the back.
I believe, well, I mean, there was this teaser uploaded on EGL, you probably saw it, about how 4 different drivers have won the first 4 races, and I'm wondering who hasn't. Has WoW won a race? I don't think he did. Was Jensen, Julian, Icewind? Yeah, not Icewind. Jensen, Julian, Copy, and Astro. So WoW would be the 5th if he went for the win.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen him in all of these races. He has been in that lead group, and certainly today he's leading the pack. So yeah, it would be good to see Wow on the top step of the podium. He's done it a few times, of course, in EGL tournaments, but not as of yet in an SLR official Tier 1 race. Quenny now trying to deal with Ocean Chief, who is on those soft tyres, and those soft tyres will be getting worse and worse. As we are now on lap 5. He's maybe got a couple more laps before he has to pit for either the hards or the mediums. Which the mediums, of course, he will be two-stopping.
Speedy in chat saying if by mistake you mean DRS, then yes.
Yeah, and Speedy was talking a little bit earlier on
Exactly.
about the strength of the DRS here. It is very strong. It's a long straight, and the DRS is active right at the beginning of it, so you really get a big advantage from the DRS here. So,
yeah, I was thinking about that comment. He said something like that it is the strongest DRS in the game. I don't quite know about that. But if you compare to like massive straights like China, where it only activates after like a third of the straight. Baku, you have the whole ping pong section before you get to open DRS. So, I mean, I guess he does have a point. I think it's a full kilometer. So...
Oh, and spinning on the inside is Hueni, and he was battling with Ocean Chief, and he just lost it on the inside curb in turn 2, and spinning as well in front. Was that somebody spinning? No, he caught it. I guess it was Light Cruiser. But Hueni at the back, having had that incident, and that was unfortunate. Ocean was holding his ground. There wasn't any contact between the two of them, I don't think. But Hueni looping it on the curb, and that really has hurt his chances in this race.
And Jensen has managed to get close to Julian again, so he kind of closed that chain that was ripping up there where Icewind was struggling a little at the start of the stint. Now Icewind is still considerably close to Jensen. And Jensen is close to Julian. Julian is actually... It looks like Julian has been dropping off a little because he's just out of DRS maybe even. If the last turn wasn't great. He is. So, I think he just slingshot himself back in.
Nope, he's not got DRS.
He's not, so Jensen is there. I'm afraid you're having a problem with your fellow Dutchman, Julian. It is Jensen who goes to the outside into turn 1. Is there space given? There is. There's a little wheel bumping. The next one is going to be Jensen's turn. They're still side by side. Next one's a left-hander, and Julian is ahead in that. Maybe with a switchback. Jensen on the inside. Massive traction, running side by side towards turn 4. Can he upbrake him? He's got his nose ahead, and I don't think there's going to be a counter move from Julian here. So it looks like Jensen's got the better for now, but he's very close.
Great battle between the two of them. The two Dutchmen, of course, lighting things up here. That has allowed Wow to get a little bit of a gap up front. He's out of DRS range now of both Jensen and Julian. But yeah, good stuff from Jensen, making that move stick. It took a couple of corners, but he did get it done eventually, did Jensen in that Haas. And now he's going to be pushing for all he's worth to try and get onto the back of that Renault that leads this race at the moment. It's a 5-car train from 2nd to 6th. All running in each other's DRS, of course, and Wow just made a little bit of a break now.
Yeah. And I really want to give Codemasters a little bit of credit for the track map, finally, because it puts all things nicely into perspective. You can see the gap between the two trains. I appreciate it massively. You can see the top train, and then in not No Man's Land, but Julian's making a move on Jensen, maybe. Not quite. And yeah, you can see Astor and Danny between the two trains, and then the second train led by Popo. I think it's a great tool. It makes viewing it and watching it a lot more enjoyable.
Yeah.
And Jensen looks so quick. He's getting closer and closer to Wow, so Wow might have to look into his mirrors again. Jensen's race pace being absolutely on point. I'll compare lap times. I think Jensen's the quickest car on track right now.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is. He's closed that gap now. He's just barely in DRS at the moment. We'll see at the next timing beam, which is just around this corner, whether he has DRS, and he does. Julian made a mistake, did you say?
Yeah, he had to correct a lot, and now he's almost out of DRS, and Jensen is indeed the quickest car. He gained a tenth of a second last lap, and he gained 3/10 of a second on WoW the lap before that. So he's slowly closing in, and as soon as he's got that DRS reliably, he will not let go again.
Well, he's just out of the second now, just behind WoW, and whether he can close that gap as they come onto the straight, and he can't, so he doesn't have DRS this time, and he's almost out of battery as well, is Jensen. WoW with just a little bit more battery in that Renault than Jensen has in his Haas, so Jensen having to defend from Julian, or at least having to think about defending from Julian. Julian's got almost a full battery though, so he's not using it where Jensen is.
Yeah, Jensen's basically completely out of it, and Julian's is untouched. So it looks like he is almost. So that makes everything look a little different, because it indicates that Julian could have defended way harder when Jensen was attacking him. But I think he's just trying to be dragged along here. Let Jensen use up his resources and just.
A bit of contact there between Tipsy and Costa for P12, and Costa coming out the worst there, sending it deep again into turn 5. That wasn't the most controlled racing from Costa, I have to say. He really didn't look in control there as he hit the side of Tipsy, but Tipsy at the moment staying ahead in that Renault, so he has that P12. But yeah, going back to the front. I mean, it's a couple of laps before we're going to see these guys pitting, and it'll be interesting to see what WoW and Jensen do. Whether Jensen's going to try and get a one-lap undercut or something like that, just to get himself back into range. But then, of course, you give yourself a disadvantage for the second stint, albeit only a small one.
And Julian is driving on 0 ERS here on the straight, just as Jensen is. But like, it looks almost as if Julian is toying around with Jensen a little bit, which is a weird thing to do. I don't know if that's what you want to do, because you risk losing the connection to WoW. Maybe you should have. I don't know.
Well, I mean, he knows that Jensen is fast. But yeah, I mean, he's conserving his resources, and he'll be saving that battery for a big in-lap or a big out-lap, whichever it is that it turns out he'll need to try and break that connection from these other guys.
Yeah, so my prediction is that Julian is going to pit like 1 or 2 laps earlier, and in these laps he's going to run in hot lap and overtake, and then, or like, at least decent portions of it. Oh, wow, he almost lost it there. And at the end of them, he'll probably be between WoW and Jensen if he gets the proper undercut done. I think that's his plan right now, because he could be quicker, for sure.
Yep, he certainly could.
100% all the time.
And WoW has stretched that gap now to almost 2 seconds up front as we come towards the end of lap 10. Tipsy now battling again with Light Cruiser. Light Cruiser going wide there in the left-hand hairpin. Tipsy going deep into the long right-hander, and he will have to give that position up, I think, to the McLaren as they come towards the end of the lap. But now Julian and Jensen again swapping positions, and Julian, without really any resistance at all from Jensen that time, takes second place again.
Yeah, it turns out my prediction was probably wrong, but
Well, Copy has pitted.
Yeah, Copy early to pit. I don't quite know why. I mean, his tires should be at a decent state. I always assume Copy's tires are going to be a little less worn than others. I think he's proven in the past that he's very good at conserving tires. So I think he'll of course be able to live with having to go 22 laps on the hards. It's still a little weird, I think. If you can go along on the mediums, why wouldn't you? Yeah,
I really don't know why you wouldn't. As again, Costa into the back of Tipsy Bob in turn 5, and Costa really needs to just reel himself in just a little bit. He is going deep into these corners, and he makes a mistake there in turn 8 as well. So he's lost a little bit of touch on the back of Tipsy. Tipsy just hanging on to Light Cruiser.
And Danny are actually fighting side by side, and Danny got the worst of it. I saw he was off track 4 wheels there. On the big red runoff thingy.
Oh yeah, you don't want to be there. Not a whole lot of grip.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. Maybe Astro squeezed him off, or maybe he overshot it himself. Well, the matter of the fact is that Astro is now ahead of Danico, so he's in P6, behind his teammate. But there's a 6 second gap between these two fighting young guns. And oh no, Astro has a massive screen freezer there, and that. Well, that promotes Danico right back up. He'll be frustrated with that one, and rightfully so.
Yep, Astro struggling with hardware issues by the looks of things as Light Cruiser and Gary both come into the pits. They're going to be putting the hard tyres on. And it's another lap before the leader's pit. So Copy's getting a 2-lap undercut here on the fresh hard tyres. Are they faster than the old medium tyres? Probably, but probably not by a huge amount. I just wonder if Copy's gone into the pits just a little bit earlier than maybe he would have liked, as Danny gets himself 3 seconds. That was a cut on the inside of turn 8 by the looks of things. So he's the first. Oh, and Astro does as well, just behind him. So those two, the first of the top 10 runners to get themselves a penalty in this race.
Yeah, Spain is, in my experience, not that hard to not get penalties on. But on the other hand, I'm not pushing as much as these guys are, so...
Oh, my game's crashed. Oh dear.
Your game crashed?
My game has crashed, yeah. Apologies, folks. Black screen for a little bit.
Okay, I guess
myself
you're on radio live. As Danny Co heads into the pits, as well as Jensen and Icewind doesn't. Pretorius Jensen have pit, so it is WoW in the lead now ahead of Julian. There's a 2-second gap between the two of them. And yeah, Julian is running low ERS just as WoW is. So both are kind of conserving their powers. They will probably fight with full force after they have pitted, which will probably be next lap. We are in the middle of lap 13 right now. So I expect this is going to be the pit window, 20 laps on the mediums. On the hards are probably what everyone is going to be doing. Now further down the order we have those who haven't pitted yet. It is Toto and P4. You have rejoined by the looks of it.
Yeah,
and
still loading
Luigi. Yeah. Oh, Luigi! Wow, Luigi almost lost it there. That was turn 9, the fast right hand on the top of the hill before the back straight. He went onto the gravel, but he was quick to catch it. So that was good from him. Costa is behind Jensen. Jensen has kind of fallen into the train. He's behind Tipsy right now, and Tipsy's going to cost him a little time. I guess Jensen will be patient enough to not send it here. That would be short-sighted, but...
Yeah, leaders pitting as well. So Julian, WoW, and Astro Boy's all pitting. And we'll see if... Did Julian get a wing change there? No, he didn't.
Really? No.
No, he didn't.
Well, I assume Jensen's going to be behind him because... or is he? Oh, it's very close.
He's going to be ahead of Julian.
Side by side. Just about there. Oh, Julian's got his nose in. Ah, not quite. And Tipsy's getting in the way, and Julian's not going to be happy with that. But I think with the new tires, he should be able to maybe do something. But he's sliding. Oh my god, he heavily leaned on Tipsy there. Like, had Tipsy not been there, he would have been off. But on the other hand, had Tipsy not been there, he wouldn't have been sliding in the first place. So,
yeah, lots of wheel banging there between the two of them.
Yeah, Tipsy racing real hard. I know Tipsy is one who's kind of known for not giving other drivers an easy time on track, as in being a hard but fair racer. But I don't think, like, he does these things a lot where he gets into fights he doesn't need to get into. I would have just let Julian pass. I don't think you needed to. I don't think Tipsy needed to do that. But
yeah, no, he didn't. I mean, it was an interesting little scrap, wasn't it? It was Jensen just ahead of the two of them, and Julian was. Yeah, trying to stay ahead of Tipsy, and he did manage to do it, but yeah, Tipsy certainly taking a risk there, trying to hold it around the outside of Julian there, who's on much better tyres, of course. And Tipsy does, in fact, pit, so he's going to put the hard tyres on now as well. Luigi also pits from what was the lead, as Jensen does the fastest lap of the race. So 1:21.0 from Jensen. That is a fast lap on the hard stint.
To be fair, there's another dimension to it that I hadn't thought of. Unfortunately, Kirst has retired, and Kirst was Tipsy's Renault teammate. He's been replaced by WoW, so WoW is not actually a reserve anymore like he used to be. He is Tipsy's teammate, so by getting into Julian's way, he's kind of being a little bit of a rear gunner to Jensen and Julian. I think that's the consideration that went into that, so I'm taking my comment back. I think it was calculated what Tipsy did.
Interesting tactics from Renault. Yeah.
Yeah. So, just like we pull off into SLR. No. Yeah, certainly not the nicest thing to do to another driver, but if it helps your teammate, it's completely fair. Like, why wouldn't he?
Yeah, so the gaps up front at the moment are quite interesting because Wow has a lead of just over 2 seconds on Jensen. Jensen has the 1 lap older tyres, of course, and he's got Julian just over a second behind him, again with the 1 lap tyre advantage. So it remains to be seen whether Julian can close that gap. Certainly in the first part of this race, Jensen has had very, very good pace, and it'll be interesting to see whether Julian is able to close. Icewind and Pretorius both right on the edge of DRS of Julian, and in fact Icewind doesn't have DRS despite doing the fastest lap of the race on the hard tyres, 1 minute 20.9. And Pretorius just behind Icewind as well. And let's not forget Copy. I mean, Copy has got older tyres than the rest of them by some distance, and he didn't really wasn't really able to make the undercut work. But
he got overcut by the others. Maybe
yeah,
he
he
made a
did.
mistake or something? I don't know.
Yeah. So no, the fresh hards aren't really much faster at all than the old mediums. But yeah, certainly Copy. I mean, he might have lost out on the strategy there, but he certainly is still in this race. That's 3 seconds for Jensen, which is big news because he cannot afford those time penalties. Obviously pushing very hard to catch Wow, but can't be doing that, and now he's got his work cut out to build a gap on those behind him.
Yeah, that is massive. I'm going to check warnings on the others.
It's a
See
good
how
idea.
close they are, because if... Yeah, and it's just like I suspected. Wow is without a warning. Julian is on 1 warning, Icewind onto... Pretorius onto... and Copy without warning, so... Yeah, that puts Jensen on the back foot massively.
Yep, certainly
He will
does.
not be happy. And Julian looks like he's the quickest man on track right now with that fastest lap of the race.
Yep, he closed, 2 or 3 tenths in the last lap on his countryman, Jensen, for that 2nd place. And he's knocking on the door of DRS now.
Tipsy might put on a move on Gary here, and Toto's passed Luigi for the last points playing position.
Yep.
And yeah, Tipsy with DRS on the Ferrari for P15. And oh, Quenny's our first retirement of the race, 17 laps in.
Oh.
Is that going to be a safety car? What happened to him?
I don't know. I tried to click him, which was a mistake.
Oh, he's in the pits. He's in the pits. So he retired himself in the pits.
Yeah, it looks like it, doesn't it? We do have yellows in Sector 3. I guess that's for that retirement, and it'll be interesting to see. We got yellows in Sector 1 now, because yeah, when he is pulling himself out of the pits to retire.
Maybe... So... Maybe a thing one could consider, maybe someone in chat knows more than I do. I'm just thinking, if Codemasters are going to make a system that tries to calculate how much of an obstruction a car on track is, like how big the pileup is or something, why wouldn't they just put in like a case where if you retire yourself, the driver's going to be able to put it next to the escape road and not bring out a safety car, maybe a VSC max. I think that would be a reasonable system. On the other hand, it's Codemasters and everything they do is mysterious and makes no sense. So, well, I think if they really thought this through, then you should be able to retire without bringing out a random safety car, especially if you're in the pits. But I don't trust them that much. Would be cool though.
Yeah, it would be cool, wouldn't it? But yeah, at the moment we got this system, which doesn't particularly work very well. But when he has retired without any drama, so no safety car, virtual or otherwise, in this race as of yet. We're just over half distance, lap 18 of 33, and Julian now is very much in DRS. Jensen just let him through. What happened there? I don't know what happened there.
Maybe he wants the ride?
Maybe he wants the... Yeah, that's possible. That's possible. Maybe he just wants not to get any more warnings and to conserve that battery or something like that. But yeah, Julian now released, and he's 3 seconds behind Wow up front. Wow with a blistering pace in that Renault, really able to put a marker down in this race as Julian does the fastest lap of the race at 1 minute 20.8.
One interesting thing that I've noticed is when you go to the specifics of lines and you compare the drivers to each other, Julian is the only one where I spotted this consistently. The others might do it, but in the last Popo has passed Astro.
Yep.
In the last sector, Julian is the only one to consistently have half of his car on the grass on the turn-in into the final chicanes. And he doesn't seem to lose any time of it, quite the opposite, because, well, he wouldn't be that quick if it actually made him slow. And Tipsy and Costa having their fight. Tipsy, after having passed Gary, is now facing the next one, and Costa will probably run him closer to the edge of the road. It was fine in the end, a little bit, got caught up in the side pod a little bit. Costa will have the inside. Can Tipsy maybe carry the traction at the outside? He can't. It's an uphill battle, but we've got yellows in sector 2, and it's a slow, it's Astro! Astro, it's, yeah,
Oh,
it's a slow
Astro, yes,
Mercedes, and
spun
he's
turn
crashed.
8, spun in turn 8. We saw him just on the
Oh, and
inside
that's
there.
an EC.
A
And that's an
VSC.
EC.
So yeah, they're gonna get rid of Astro's car. There it is. Astro Boys leaves the session, of course, having already retired. He was ghosted, thankfully, for Costa. So yeah, VSC, that shouldn't have too big an impact, I wouldn't have thought.
No, it doesn't give anyone anything, really.
Because yeah,
which
nobody's
is
pitting.
good.
Maybe Ocean Chief will get a free pit stop, but I don't think so.
No, I think he'll carry on to the end. His tires will be very bad, but it's better.
No,
than
no,
pitting.
he's on mediums. He can't
Oh,
go
he's
to
on
the end.
mediums.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, he's two stopping.
Assumed he wasn't hard. Well, if he's gonna make it to the pits, which is going to be close, then he will probably pit this. Oh, he doesn't.
He decides
Okay.
not to, but yeah, it's too
Oh,
late anyway.
probably
So we're racing again.
Yeah, never mind.
Oh,
Yeah, Ocean Chief, unfortunately, the
big
crazy
scrap for
straight-
9th here. Sorry, Luigi and Toto. Luigi
Oh, he's running off
just
track completely.
pushing
Oh!
Toto a little bit wide, a bit more contact between the two of them.
Looked like big contact, but didn't do anything. And yeah, Luigi's out of Toto now.
Oh,
no!
did he hit him?
Tags
He
the
might
back,
well have hit him, and Light
Cruiser
Cruiser says
gets
thank you
through.
very
Light
much.
Cruiser gets 2 for the price of none.
And they're still side by side fighting behind Luigi and Toto, who I imagine are not going to be too happy with each other. Certainly Toto will feel that Luigi pushed him off track, and Luigi will feel that Toto ran into the back of him very unnecessarily there in turn 4. We're just going to keep our eyes on this scrap. It's as you were up front. Jensen is within half a second.
Oh,
As
Toto!
Toto gets himself 3 seconds for running across
that
the
was
inside of the hairpin. As we cut back to the main straight, but Julian is still ahead of Jensen. Jensen looks like he's taking it relatively easy. He must know what the situation is in terms of penalties. And Light Cruiser, in the midst of all of that battling between the two of them, Light Cruiser has managed to get himself out of DRS, and Ocean Chief does pit the following lap, so he's going to go to the end now on the medium tyres that he's about to put on. And Luigi just defending from Toto, these two battling over the final point. So let's take stock for just a second then. We've got Wow in the lead still by 3 seconds. 3 seconds for Pretorius too. So he will now fall down the order a little bit. He'll be behind Copy, I would have thought. But Julian 3 seconds behind Wow. Jensen is in DRS of Julian, and I think saving his battery. And then another 3 second gap to Icewind and Pretorius, who now has a 3 second penalty. Jensen, of course.
Where's one? Icewind or Pretorius? Icewind, right?
No, Icewind doesn't have a penalty. Pretorius does.
Oh, okay.
He just got one. So Icewind's
Okay.
in a good position.
Well, Julian that pace.
Yep, he's certainly
Juicy.
closing. 12 laps
Yeah.
to go.
He picked up 5/10 in that lap because it was a flat time for Wow, and Julian did a 20.5. Oh, Icewind! Wow,
Yep, he got sideways there, didn't he?
very sideways. But I credit, normally he's very prone to getting penalties, but he doesn't have one here. And if he can stay close enough to Jensen, which looks questionable right now, but let's say they get into a fight, or Icewind picks up his pace, maybe he's on course for a potential podium. It's still in the realms of possibility. And
Yep.
Gary has repassed Tipsy.
Yep, up the inside
yeah,
into turn
DRS.
1. That was a pretty straightforward move for Gary. Nothing Tipsy could particularly do about that. So Gary up to P13 in that
Oh,
Ferrari.
Tipsy, that is understeer.
Yep, certainly is. The hard tyres are prone to doing that from time to time.
Especially in that corner. I
Yep.
feel like, is it cambered a little? It kind of feels like it.
Yeah,
Like,
it's just such a long corner that the
Yeah.
tyres really struggle to keep the traction. And certainly the hard
Yeah.
tyres don't have much traction to begin with, so it's difficult to take properly. It's fastest lap now for Jensen, who is hanging on the coattails of Julian right now and trying to launch himself out of range of Icewind. He does have more than a 3-second gap now on Icewind. We have yellows in Sector 2. Don't know why. It's a McLaren by the looks of it. Basco recovering from that incident. Now that we have the track map, we can see that sort of thing. Basco had some sort of an excursion there, I think, in turn 8.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I was, when Astra crashed, I was, okay, this is a mean phrasing. I was kinda happy to see that, that the track, like, it was easy to spot on the track map. We saw yellow flag, Sector 2, just looked at Sector 2, saw the slow Mercedes, knew, okay, this is Astra. And, yeah, that was great because normally, I mean, if you regularly watch these broadcasts, you are aware of the pain it is to try and find who it is. Normally it's just the second, like the one who isn't on the broadcast, which is in this case me, and going through all the cars because it looks horrible if the one on the camera does it, and this way Tara can just look at the track map and go to the car we want to go to, which is a lot easier for us.
Yeah, absolutely
makes
right.
The viewing experience a lot better as Tips. He just goes off track there, as he doesn't feel like turning in as much as he needs to.
Julian passed by Jensen. That was a DRS.
Costa has lost it, and he's off on the back straight. I don't quite know how you get there. Probably caught. Yeah, his car was probably going to spin towards the right into the barrier, and then he overcorrected and spun towards the left into the grass, because I rarely see cars going off there that far into the straight.
He's still got all of his front wing, does Costa, so it doesn't look like it will have affected him too badly. Tipsy just in front of him gets a little bit of a swapsy on out of the final chicane, and Costa, I think, has to lift a little bit there onto the main straight, but he's going to get past down this main straight now. We have 10 laps to go. And the situation is that Jensen now 2.7 behind Wow. But of course he's got those 3 seconds worth of penalties in that Haas. Just behind him on track is Julian, but of course Julian doesn't have those 3 seconds of penalties. And yeah, as you mentioned, just looking at him now into the into that right-hander, yeah, he does use the grass, doesn't he? Just to widen it out as much as he can. So, yeah, obviously found himself a little bit of time there. Another fastest lap of the race from Jensen, 20.5. That will have been with help from DRS last time around as he passed Julian on the front straight.
I wonder if people are going to look at this and then into a Seville race, everyone's going to do it. It's hard to adjust to things like risky lines like this in the race if you see someone else doing it. But maybe if people are watching the broadcast and think to themselves, well, this might gain me time, maybe we'll see more people do this.
Toto and Luigi again into turn 1. We've seen these two battling before, and Toto just gave the minimum possible room there to Luigi on turn 1. And Luigi having to back out of that one sharpish. To prevent himself from being spun around. So he lives to fight another day. 3 seconds for Icewind is a big deal, because now he has the same number of penalties as Pretorius behind, which means that this is a real battle on track if Pretorius can get in range. Hwenny is in chat.
Yeah, I've just
oh, you have? All right.
Yeah, I saw it. It was his... Yeah, he sent me the footage of his death, which was basically a cosplay of the Paris and Stroke crash of Barcelona.
Yeah, we got it on stream as well, as Julian passes Jensen for P2. So yeah, if you rewind the broadcast to any, you'll see it on screen. I didn't think there was any contact between the two of you.
Oh,
but,
there was.
Oh, there was. Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, you'll see it on stream.
Yeah, I mean, I would probably call it a racing incident. Probably more fault on Ocean's side when he has got his nose in. I don't know. Like, I would call it like a 60-40 thing more towards Ocean, but I don't know. It's just a quick look.
Oh, Toto and Luigi again side by side into turn 1, and Toto once again slams the door on the Williams of Luigi, and these two really battling hard, and you just wonder if these two are going to get to the end of the race in the positions that they're in at the moment. They're certainly giving it everything they've got in this battle between the two of them. As Costa gets himself 3 seconds, he's running in 13th place at the moment. And Bascodinho passes NJJ for P16.
So he's distracted a little bit, Costa with a penalty, and yeah, I must say, we've seen them multiple times on the broadcast right now. Toad and Luigi literally have been fighting the entire race. I think they were together, I think we saw their first interactions being like lap 5 and then it's lap 27, they're still within a second of each other.
Yeah,
and not
absolutely.
breaking free. Their pace is basically dead even. It's great scrap.
As Luigi makes a little bit of a mistake there, and by a little bit of a mistake, I mean quite a big mistake, in the final chicane. And he's going to have to make that 1 second gap back up once again. He's got the DRS to help him out, of course, down this main straight, so I'm sure he'll be back on Toto's case before too long to provide us with some entertainment in the final 7 laps of this race. But it looks at the moment like this Spanish Grand Prix is just a little bit... it's petering out just a little bit. We do have a real battle on track here for P4 with Icewind and Pretorius, and Copy is still lurking there in 6th, but certainly at the front 3 at the moment. Wow and Julian, neither of those two have any penalties. Jensen has 3 seconds. Icewind and Pretorius both have 3 seconds as well. Yeah. So really it's this battle.
But it just ruined... I mean, Jensen is safe, but it ruins his challenge to Julian.
Oh, Icewind's a sitting duck here. He made a mistake, I think, in the
yes.
final chicane, so Pretorius is certainly going to get this move done at the moment. He's almost out of battery, and there are still 6 laps to go, so this is by no means a done deal for Icewind just yet.
Pretorius has also been driving a great race, all of them rather quiet, just behind the top guys, but I mean, both of them massively consistent and super quick. Quite amazing. Also, well ahead. Well, I mean, with the penalties, they won't be, but on track, they are ahead of Copy, who's, I mean, he's won a championship. He's not a slow guy.
Yep, and, absolutely right. And yeah, I didn't mention that Copy doesn't have any penalties, and yeah, he is ahead of both of these two at the moment on track. Oh, sorry, on the score sheet, not on track. And he's also just lurking on the edge of that DRS as well, so maybe he gets DRS this time if Icewind has a sloppy final sector, and Icewind is losing the back of Pretorius here in Sector 3.
Maybe we'll get ourselves another bit of a fight here, and I would appreciate it. Let's see some action in the final turns. I think Copy's run was rather meh, which drops him almost out of DRS, but just in there. His run through the final corner of the chicane was meh. And Icewind was better, but with the DRS he's going to be able to hang on, and Icewind has considerably gotten closer to Pretorius using that DRS. The question is he quick enough to stay close while there's no DRS, just on pure pace, and then maybe make the jump back on him, because even though both of them have 3 seconds of time penalties, they are fighting for track position, of course, both of them having the equal amount of points, penalty.
Yep, absolutely right. So it'll be interesting to see in the last 5 laps or so. Julian is closing that gap up front very slowly, very surely. It's now 2.4 seconds as they are about to enter the final sector. Tipsy pits from P14. Not exactly sure why. He's maybe going to try and do the fastest lap. On those
Julian has that right now, doesn't
new
he?
soft tyres. Julian does, yeah, 1 minute 20.2, but I think Tipsy on the fresh softs is going to be
quicker than that.
it's going to be quicker than that. So
basically qualifying conditions.
Yep, pretty much.
Just missing that mix 4, but that's it.
Yep, absolutely. So I would expect Tipsy to be somewhere in the 18s or thereabouts with his fastest lap. Again, Icewind right on the back of Pretorius. We're keeping one eye as well on that battle for P10, the final points paying position, and with 4 laps to go, Luigi still only a few tenths of a second behind Toto, and surely there's going to be some more fireworks towards the end of the race. And in fact, Toto making a mistake out of the last corner by the looks of it. So Luigi says thank you very much, and he takes that P10.
Yeah, and it was quite the commanding overtake because the gap was already that big that Toto has to be worried about still being within the second more than being close enough for counter move right off the bat. So yeah, he made a mistake probably. Otherwise that doesn't.
Oh, he definitely made a mistake. I think in the last corner he might have gotten a bit loose or something like that and had to hit the brakes. So yeah, I mean he lost himself like, I don't know, close to 2 seconds I think with that mistake, because he was comfortably ahead and he ended up comfortably behind. So 3 laps to go. The gap now up front, 1.7 seconds. What's the situation? Julian does the fastest lap with a 1 minute 20.0. Wow is out of battery. Julian is half a battery. So this one isn't quite done just yet. Jensen getting himself in that mix as well, but of course he's got those 3 seconds of penalties.
They are both at 1 warning, and I'll check the lap times to see the trend. Julian has been, Julian's last lap have been very quick. 0.2, 0.2, 0.5, 0.2, 0.0, and Wow is doing 0.6, 0.7, 0.4, 0.6, 0.6, so it's like 4 tenths a lap. And by that rate, I think he might just about be on the back of Wow, but when it is too late. So I think on the last lap he might be in DRS and stuff, but I don't think it's gonna be enough unless he absolutely pushes the crap out of that car. Getting a little loose here. Yeah.
Yeah, he's trying as hard as he possibly can. Jensen is struggling to stay with Julian in that racing point a little bit, with 2 laps to go as they cross the line this time by. Julian within a second and a half, or 1.6 or thereabouts, but at the moment not able to do too much better than that. He does have the battery advantage though, so maybe in these last 2 laps he can close the gap just a little bit.
Yeah, it looks like he's not closing in that much right now. I don't know. Yeah, it's gonna be close. He probably needs a mistake of Wow, to be honest. But we would have 5 different drivers winning races in the first 5 races of this season, showing how competitive this grid is at the front. And Julian still wants to get his foot in the door here. And it looks like on this lap he's struggling to do it, but you can just see from on board he's pushing so much. It looks like it basically looks like quali trim. Of course, not from the engine power and stuff and the tires, of course, but the way he's pushing the car, the body language, it looks like he's just giving it everything. He's got 110% for the racing point, but I don't think on the last run, on the last lap, he's gained anything really. So Wow might get away with this just about fine. There's the DRS, or yeah, we're about at the DRS measurement point. It's more than a second, even though Julian has gotten closer a little. But this is the final time they are going to drive this DRS straight in its fullest, and Julian does not get to open DRS. So Wow might be able to save himself. The only real overtaking spot is the backstraight, and even that one is kind of poor. You have to be basically glued to the car in front through turn 9, and it's hard to do. And then you have to be quite ambitious.
Yeah, I don't know whether he's going to be able to be close enough to even do that. It's going to be difficult for him. He's really reliant on a mistake now. He is pushing for all he's worth in that racing point, and he still has half a lap of battery, so he needs to be using that battery rather than being in none, even in none through corners. Yeah, makes it really difficult as we. NJJ just in front of us. He's a lap down and does get out of the way.
Yeah, and this looks like a done deal. And Jensen
3 more for Jensen. That should be fine. That should be fine.
2 guys with penalties. So yeah, looks like Julian. I don't know why he didn't use all of his ERS. I don't think it would have won him the race, but it could have made it closer. And I mean, if you have something to be able to go quicker, you're going to use it. It's the nature of a racing driver, but he didn't use all of his battery. He's going to Well, it doesn't matter
across the
because, well-
line. Yep, wow, doing the big weave across the line. He wins the race by 1.4 seconds from Julian. Jensen spins across the line, and yeah, that is him finishing P3. Pretorius and Icewind cross the line, but of course they'll both be jumped by Copy. And in fact, Icewind had 3 more seconds that we didn't realize, because Icewind falls a little bit further back. Danny, who drove a quiet race, he got compromised a little bit by Ocean Chief on the soft tyres early on, but he does cross the line P7. Popo with a very creditable P8 as well. Light Cruiser P9. Luigi looks like he's going to get P10 on track. Does he get it on penalties, though? No, he does not. Toto gets P10 instead, and Luigi has to settle for no points in this one.
Costa is pushing Gary through the final chicane, but Gary, the tier 2 driver, is going to come across, and it is P12.
Yep, they had the
Decent
same
effort
number
without
of
assists.
penalties.
Costa, yeah, P13. Ocean Chief with the wildcard strategy. I mean, it's a wildcard strategy because it only works in certain circumstances. None of these circumstances came to play today, so his strategy was like considerably worse than. Oh, nice crash. It was considerably worse than the mediums to hard, so that has probably kind of dragged him down a little. And he's finishing P14. It's a decent result. He's finishing ahead of some people. Bascadinho, Tipsy. So he's actually won the Battle of Ireland. Now that Kirst is gone.
Yep, so Ocean Chief with the 2-stop. Wasn't able to get any points for it. Not even his customary 10th place. But he did cross the line in P14 and on the lead lap, which is no mean feat in a field of this quality. There are your results. Wow wins it from Julian, and Jensen P2 and P3. Copy P4 with no penalties. Pretorius and Icewind P5 and P6, with all 6 of those drivers showing pretty incredible pace, I have to say. And we have to identify one of them to be our driver of the day. Who is it going to be? I think probably, given the intensity of the scrap, I think our race winner, who crossed the line with no penalties and got his first win of the season as well, I think that would be my nomination, Mr. Wow.
Yeah, I think last time out, I said, yeah, we're probably not going to give it to the race winner again, because we've done that 4 times in a row now, but we're exactly at the same place we've been all time. It's just such a consistently strong field, so there's like rarely any proper surprise performances. Everyone always qualifies around where their pace is. Everyone finishes around where their pace is. Nothing crazy going on. No one just cutting through the ranks and gaining loads of positions. Light Cruiser probably worth a mention. He gained 10 spots, but in the end he's just in P9. And we know that he could have probably qualified better. So I think it is fair to go for WoW again. Well, I mean, not as in again for WoW, but again for the race leader, race winner. Yeah, I think it is fair. Like, out of the top 7, no one gained more than 1 position. Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
something like that. It's
So
yeah, such a high quality field, and that's what you get when you have good drivers. They don't tend to make mistakes. So yeah.
should just make it a fan vote, so the same driver gets it every time.
Yeah, we'll give them an extra 2 DRS activations as well while we're at it. That seems fun. Let's
Don't do my boy for me like that.
let's bring in our race winner then, who had a fantastic race. He is our driver of the day as well. First win of the season for WoW, and well, I mean, it's one of those things. I mean, we've seen you win plenty in the past on EGL and the pre-season race as well. That it felt like it was a long time. This being the 6th race or the 5th race or whatever it is of the season. It felt like a long time before you'd won a race. But in reality, it's only been 5 races. But that was a fantastic performance. How was it from your end? Is he not here? I don't think he's here. Oh dear. Unless... Yeah, I don't think he's here. Unless Thimo's not here.
No.
No, Thimo's here. Okay. Yeah, he's not here. Alright, well, let's not talk to WoW then. Let's let's talk
Imagine
instead.
that happening IRL.
Let's talk instead to our second placed finisher, Julian, who, again, with incredible pace, Julian. We saw you close the gap at the end. Didn't quite manage to get in range of WoW at the end, but just in terms of your pace and your overall performance, how was it for you?
I don't really know how to summarize my race. I mean, what I can say is, I mean, I didn't practice with WoW, but I didn't expect him to be that quick, so I was kind of impressed by that during the race. But yeah, I'm happy for him that he won, because I don't think he's been at like the literal front of the pack in 2 races or 3 races, like actually fighting for the win. So that's good for him. But yeah, about my race, I was struggling with a lot of understeer in the first stint. I don't know what it was. I just had it all of a sudden. I didn't have it in practice, so I tried to up the wing at the pit stops. That worked. It improved my pace a little bit, not too much, but it did improve it, so that was good. And then I don't know, out of nowhere, at the end I was just quick as hell. I don't know what it was, but it surprised me too. So I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go for it, because why not? So I pushed really hard. I made a few mistakes. I don't know if that was on stream, but I had a massive slide at the exit of turn 9.
Okay, I don't think we caught that. We did see that you were
think I
pushing
saw
really
that, but
hard.
I-
Okay, yeah.
I'm not the camera guy, so.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I was pushing so hard that I literally almost lost it in front of Jensen. So that was kind of scary, but yeah, I mean, I have to say, Wout just drove really well today, and yeah, I'm not gonna make up an excuse because he just drove the best today.
Yeah, well, no, he certainly drove fantastically well, and so did you. I mean, so did everyone, honestly, in the top 6. I mean, the pace of the top 6 was absolutely incredible, and we were sort of lamenting a little bit, sort of halfway through that race, that these races tend to be a little bit processional, just because no one makes mistakes. It's we're used to seeing people make mistakes, but people don't tend to make mistakes
Yeah.
in these big groups anymore, which is good to see from a competition perspective. But yeah, it does mean that we don't necessarily get the action that we would otherwise get.
You don't
I
get the
could
crazy-
dive bomb some people for you if you want. Actually.
Okay, yeah. Well, I mean, it's Monaco next, so that sounds great. Yeah,
No,
like,
it's not,
yeah.
it's not.
Please do that. Oh, is it not?
You have,
Oh,
not,
it's not.
you have not been informed.
Oh, it's a
yeah.
different it's a different calendar.
Yeah, it is a different
Oh,
calendar.
no. Oh,
You
I'm
have
so
only
sad it's not
16
Monaco next.
You have only 16 races on the
Oh
season.
no, I really want it to
And,
be Monaco next.
Yeah,
well.
like the ones cut out are Coda, Mexico, Russia, Abu Dhabi, and Monaco. So the next
Oh,
one is
dear.
Canada, actually. I'm
Well-
sorry, Tara.
Well, at least they mostly have good taste, apart from Monaco
Yeah.
being cut. But yeah. Oh well, that's a shame.
What is
but,
Singapore doing here?
I'll just shove it up the inside of some people in the hairpin then.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
fine.
No, that sounds good. Yeah, we'll.
And
yeah,
then pull a
checks in the
Vettel, and
post.
except for staying on the track, I'll just force the guy into the wall.
Yeah.
If you're,
Okay.
if you're going to make a pass for the lead in the in the final chicane in Canada, I'm donating $5 to your PayPal.
I don't have PayPal, so
Oh, well, that's no $5 for you. Then I'm going to talk to Jensen.
okay. See you
Actually,
next week.
that's $5.
I'm guessing
See you
that
next week.
you and Jensen, by the way, were in conversation during the race, so you knew that he had penalties and stuff.
We actually weren't.
Okay.
He was, I don't know, he just started letting me pass. I was like, okay, I guess we're working together now. So then I passed him, and I saw that he was quicker again, so I let him back by, and then it kind of went like,
Yeah,
with him in front.
Yeah, I
But-
actually wanted to ask you because Speedy earlier on had mentioned about the DRS here at Barcelona, and he thinks it's stronger at Barcelona than it is anywhere else. I figure it's probably just because it's like a longer straight or whatever, but
Yeah,
it,
but
it does
I
it
mean,
does
it-
feel incredibly strong here.
I don't think he means that it makes you quicker than anywhere else, but like it's a massively impactful.
Okay, yeah. I guess
Yeah,
I guess that makes
it's
sense.
definitely bigger at Spain because the straight is longer, as you said. But I think the DRS is a little bit more OP than normal as well, just
Yeah.
more speed. Because
Okay.
the corners are a lot longer and you lose more time with DRS. So I think Codemasters try to compromise that with DRS.
Ah, I see.
That's
Okay.
interesting.
That is
I
interesting.
thought it might work everywhere, the same everywhere, because physics really don't give a crap about track layouts.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
apparently they do.
yeah, I mean, you'd think that. Yeah, maybe it's like maybe it's one of those things because I know they tweak certain things for the AI mainly, so that the AI can overtake in some situations and that sort of thing. So
Yeah.
maybe it's something like that. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
But I just think that's not a fact. I just think
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah. Okay. No,
It's like equal cars aren't equal. No documentation, but everyone claims it's true.
The cars do definitely feel different, but the
Okay, I
pace is
shouldn't have
just.
brought it up. It's my fault. I'm sorry. Why did I mention it? Oh God.
The Racing Point is one of the nicest cars in the game, by the way.
Okay. Well, that's good to
Why
know.
does everyone have different opinions on that? Lately, I heard that I don't know who told me, but someone told me that the Renault was apparently the nicest car to drive.
That one is pretty nice too.
After I was driving Williams all the time, and everyone said, "Oh, Williams is OP." Now I'm in a Renault, and now this some other person, I don't remember who was it, said that Renault is one of the nicest cars, and Williams feels kind of trash. I'm like, what the hell? Can you please decide?
Yeah, it always seems to be the cars that we're
It was
driving that are OP,
Bailey. It was
but yeah.
Bailey. It
But
was
yeah,
Bailey.
but in any case, congrats on the P2.
Thank you.
How are you feeling about Canada next? Are you confident?
Oh god, I thought we were finally done, but okay.
Sorry.
But Canada, I mean, I like the track, but the track limits are just kind of a joke there, so I'm not looking forward to that. But the race
Yeah.
should be good.
Okay. Well, good to know. And yeah, congrats on the P2. And yeah, we'll look forward to a strong performance in Canada.
Same.
So yeah, thanks for talking to us, Julian. And we're going to bring in Julian's countryman and third place finisher here this afternoon, Jensen, who you spent most of the race running with Julian. And we sort of assumed that you guys were in conversation, but it turns out you weren't.
No, not at all. No.
But yeah, I mean, I guess with your penalties, it turned out not to be a race between the two of you. But I mean, the fact that you were able to, show that good a pace for so long, I mean, you must get some confidence from that.
Yeah, I know Spain is one of my better tracks, but yeah, somehow right from the get-go, I wasn't completely focused or something. I had a little bit of, when you are in a race and you start glazing a little bit and don't focus entirely 100% on apexes and stuff.
Okay, yeah, you sort
get
of
a little bit zoned out.
you zone out a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, that's what happened with me, and yeah, like you said, I got the 3-second penalty quite quickly. But still, I had a very nice overtake on Julian on track in the first stint.
Mm-hmm.
that was epic. But yeah, then when I had the 3-second penalty, I went for the undercut. I was like, maybe these guys will get the 3-second as well, because we were pushing like crazy at the front.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I got in front of Julian again, but then the point happened that Julian was a little bit quicker than me, and I saw no reason to keep fighting. And I was like, if he can catch up to WoW somehow, and we did, but it wasn't close enough, and these guys would have gotten a penalty as well, all bets were off again. And even if that didn't happen, and I could stay with Julian with a full battery, and he gets a time penalty in the last few laps, I could still maybe take him on track and get P2. But Julian was really, really fast on the hard tire.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So,
no, he
yeah.
certainly was. I mean, just the pace and the consistency up front. I mean, you guys were doing low 20s for pretty much the whole of the final 10 laps or so, which is just incredible pace on that hard tire.
Yeah.
Was it faster than you were expecting? Was it sort of had you done that sort of pace in practice?
Yeah, I did that pace in practice.
Okay.
I'm not saying I would have been the quickest of the three of us, but maybe I could have been slightly more consistent somehow.
Okay.
Because there were a lot of laps that you mess up the first sector or the last one, and then the difference between us three is so little that every tenth counts. And yeah, if you mess up the first sector, it's immediately 2 tenths you lose, so you can start all over again, and that's basically what happened all the time. So yeah, but I of course I was expecting Julian, Wow, Copy. Of course I was expecting them to be quick as well here. So I never thought it would be easy, and it wasn't. But at least it was a fun, intense race until the end.
Yeah, no, it certainly was. It was fun to watch as well.
Yeah.
And we'd, I mean, we were talking during the broadcast that you know, quite often you guys just don't make mistakes up front, so it's the racing tends to be sort of, you know, it's neutralized a little bit just because you guys don't make mistakes, which is great to see from a
still.
yeah, a little bit. I mean, it's great to see from a competition perspective, but yeah, from
Yeah,
the
well,
perspective of
I
watching
can
it.
understand. It's yeah. You don't come to watch for parade parade lap or something. Parade laps.
Yeah, but I
Yeah.
mean, you know, I guess you guys, well, certainly you and Julian were sort of passing and repassing at the end there with the DRS. So
Yeah, and I wanted to attack him more, but he was just so quick. Even when
Mhm.
I was in his DRS, because it was still my intention to attack him, even though it was pointless with the 3 seconds. But first, I also wanted to make sure the guys behind were
Yeah,
far
yeah.
enough away, because I already had 3 seconds, of course. Yeah, and the last 2 laps I didn't I didn't care anymore, so I got another 3 seconds, and I was like, that's fine.
Yeah, fair enough. So
Yeah.
third place in this one. How are you feeling about Canada?
I don't like Canada a lot,
Okay. So
because yeah, the track limits are really.
yeah, Julian was mentioning about the track limits. He doesn't like those.
Nah, me too. Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to throw in the car so hard most of the times,
hmm
and that's not a good combination with Canada.
Yeah, with the chicanes, you can't really do that. Certainly, like
Yeah,
turns 3 and 4.
my first league race ever there, I got disqualified because
Oh
of too
no.
much corner cutting penalty. So yeah, that's my opinion.
Okay. Well,
But yeah,
fingers
track
crossed you avoid
Yeah.
that this time. I'm sure you will.
Yeah, we will see, and yeah, I'm looking forward to Paul Ricard. That's an amazing track to run side by side and stuff. So
Yeah, that's true. It is. It's really good for racing. Well done on the third place today, and yeah, I'll put you back in the other channel. Thanks for talking to us.
yes, you're welcome.
And let's bring in someone else who was in that lead group then for pretty much all of the race and had very, very good pace, as we're used to seeing in these races. Icewind, who finished P6 in the end. Yeah, 6. Because, yeah, you guys fell behind Copy. But, I mean,
Yep.
just in terms of your pace, I mean, you qualified third. You were up in that lead group for pretty much the whole race. You were able to live with those guys today.
Yeah. I mean, my qualifying lap was definitely out of nowhere. I don't know how I did it because I was like 2.1 seconds faster than I was on the hards.
Yeah. Well, we mentioned during qualifying, because we sort of cast our minds back to the 2 SRL race last year, which I think was one of your first races with us. Sort of.
I
that right?
did the
Oh.
whole season. So,
Okay, yeah.
yeah.
So yeah,
It was,
would have
let's
been
say it was one of the first races where I didn't completely mess up things, but
okay, yeah. But yeah, certainly
Yeah.
one of the first few races in 2 SRL. But we compared the times, and I think it was me and you on the front row for that
Yeah.
race, and we did
but
low
I think
8.
that was on soft.
Yeah, we did low 18s on softs.
Yeah,
So you did
definitely,
a 17.8 today on mediums. So like you can see the
Yeah.
improvement.
Yeah, definitely. I wasn't very hopeful for this race because I had absolutely no time to practice this week because I've just been busy
hmm
with all the management of the league, hosting races, FIA, comms,
hmm
all of that. So I hadn't really done any laps, but I just basically took my Suzuka setup and then put 2 more rear wing
hmm
because it felt very slidey, and that apparently worked today. I think Copy, Pretorius, and me were like, I don't know, so extremely close in pace today that we just couldn't get rid of each other. But maybe to Jens and Julian, we just were missing that 2 or 3 tenths or something like that per lap. So
Yeah.
Yeah, we-
it's, I mean, Julian, Jensen, and Wow. I mean, the pace was
Yeah.
pretty extraordinary with those guys. But yeah, I mean, you guys were not very far off.
no, not
in
far,
that
but I
last
think maybe that crucial 3 or 4 tenths per lap.
Yeah, fair enough.
In raw pace, because I with those hard tires, I tend to have this kind of a crappy phase with them, and then that's where I dropped
Yeah.
from Jensen's DRS after the pit stop, and then there was a little bit of traffic as well. But I mean, I'm pretty happy with this result. So
Yeah. I mean, certainly good points, and in terms of finishing in the top 6 in any race in SLR Tier 1 these
Yeah.
days is is a big achievement. So yeah, I mean, otherwise, I mean, how are you looking? We're not doing Monaco, I know, which is a real shame. I'd like to do Monaco. That would have been
Yeah,
fun.
but I think 2SRL is doing it, right?
2SRL is doing it. Yeah.
Yep.
So I'll get to
That's what I'm
drive it at
looking
least.
forward to.
Yeah. I'll get to drive it at least. I won't get to.
Yeah, hopefully I get
get a
further
commentator.
than one lap because last
Yeah,
year
I
in
remember.
2SRL I crashed in at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, that was the full wet race. It was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
But
But,
Canada, I guess Canada next. How are you feeling about that?
Well, last year I was pretty good, but you have to, as we've seen here today, you have to improve your times quite a bit from last season. So
No, you certainly do.
I don't know. We'll have to see, I guess. So I think
Yeah,
it's
cool.
probably a decent track for me. Not as bad as Baku, for example, but yeah.
Yeah, no, fair enough. It's one of those tracks because it feels so stop-starty, and you've got the track limits issue as well with the chicanes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it should be a good race in any case. I think we'll certainly look forward to seeing you there and the other guys as well. So yeah,
Yep.
well done on sixth place today, and yeah, really good pace.
Yeah, it was really
Yeah.
fun driving because we were battling the entire race. I was on VC with Pretorius, and I was just like trying to
Yeah, trying
hang
to.
on in the DRS back. Then we fell off it, but Pretorius was not that quick on the straight line, so he didn't really have a chance to pass me either until
Okay.
then when I made a mistake once.
Yeah, we saw the pass that eventually came. So, but yeah, good stuff anyway with the sixth place. So I'm gonna drag you back into the into the
Thanks,
channel
Chris.
now, and yeah, thanks for talking to us. And that I think is gonna do it for the broadcast. We've been going a little while on interviews. Sorry if there's anybody else who we haven't spoken to yet who wanted to talk, but yeah, I think we have to call it a night there. Unfortunately, so thanks for watching. Thanks for being with us for all of these broadcasts because they are a lot of fun to do. I hope they're fun to watch as well. We've got the usual stuff tomorrow. We got both 2SRL streams, both live, of course. So tune in 5:30 UK time for the Tier 2 race, 7 UK time for the Tier 1 race. So join the various casters. Thimo is one of them for that one. And of course, we'll have the Tier 3, Tier 2, F2 next week as well, all from Canada for SLR. So that's going to do it for this broadcast. Any final... I saw you unmute your mic there, Thimo. I'm sure it was to give us some final thoughts.
At Baku, I was gonna say you haven't asked for final thoughts in quite a while, but then I decided
Oh,
to just
no.
leave it unspoken because I thought I might get you to bad ideas, but apparently you don't.
I mean,
need
you
me to
knew
have
it
bad
was coming eventually. It had to come eventually.
No, I
I'm
thought you
gonna-
completely forgot about that because we had our 6-week break and then there was 4 weeks, so you didn't do it for 10 weeks. I assumed you maybe forgot that they were a thing.
You should always expect the final thoughts, Thimo. It's
Yeah, I should always expect you to be the worst person possible. Hashtag bring back Monaco. Thank you.
That's a good final thought.
Goodbye.
I like and subscribe to that
I
final
knew
thought.
I knew I would get your approval of that one.
All right, thanks for watching, everyone. We'll see you next time.